And you're listening to The Betty Howls Show here on CILU Radio, 102.7 FM. But as usual on The Betty Howls Show, I've lined up all kinds of people from the Thunder Bay community to come and talk, because I feel like my show is really about not only feminism and inclusion and equality, but letting everybody have a voice here at the station. And so this is an interview that's going to kick off a long series of interviews that's going to start today for members of Artisans Northwest, because it's their 40th anniversary this year. And so I've invited all of the members, whether they want to or not, to come on the show and talk about what they do and basically how Artisans has affected their life, because I think it's that kind of group. So I have with me today Cindy Cockell, who was here in the fall to talk about what kind of stuff she does and how long she's crafted and done art. But now she can be here and tell us all about the group. And if you've never heard of Artisans Northwest before, you're going to leave the show today with a good understanding of why they exist and what we all do. So welcome, Cindy.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks for coming back to the program.
Oh, you're welcome. We had fun last time.
Yeah, we did. It was great. So I was really happy that you could come back again. And I'm really excited about having other members on the show, because you don't often get to talk about what you do when you're an artisan or a crafter.
No, just to the people who come by our booth. And,
yeah.
We talk to them all the time and they get to see what we do.
Mm-hmm. But and that can be very intimate, but at the same time, you don't always get to talk about the inspiration on a grander scale, you know?
Yep.
So I think it's really cool that everybody's kind of excited about this idea of coming on the program.
Well, it is. And it's in celebration of, I know it's your 10th anniversary. It's in its celebration of our 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
Which is a long time for a group to be together.
Oh, it is. And I think it's amazing too. And I felt so honored when I was allowed, like juried and allowed in the group. So I'm sure everybody else feels the same way too, especially about the longevity. And
it is. And we still have one original member.
Yes. And I'm very excited to interview her, Kathy McDonald. So that'll be coming up soon, hopefully.
Yep. People know Kathy because she's one of the owners of Fireweed.
Mm-hmm.
And she's still hanging in there. So she's the last one we have from 40 years ago. The rest of us are relatively newer.
Yeah. So you were saying before we started today, you've been in 27 years.
Yep, 27 years.
Does that number surprise you?
It does. When we sat down, because this year with our name tags, we're going to try and put how many years everybody's been a member of the group. And when you think back, like even when I thought back, to when we did the 25th anniversary, I thought, holy cow, it's been 15 years. And it just seems like it was a couple of years ago. So 27 years have zipped right by. Painted an awful lot of little snowmen in those years.
Oh, that's interesting to think about too. And you started off doing as well jewelry, right?
I did some jewelry early on. When I joined Artisans, I was doing wooden puzzles and kids' toys and a little bit of the ornaments. And now I just pretty much I still do some Christmas jewelry, but still mostly the snowman and Santas and that. And I know I've painted over 500 different styles over all the years. And
that's incredible.
It's just, well, for all of us, year after year to keep coming up with new ideas or venture out into other mediums or other products and stuff. That's probably the hardest thing to do, is to keep coming up with new and fresh ideas. And, we're always out there looking for any new artists that might want to join the group too, because we're always trying to present, a new, fresh look to the show and, showcase the best of the artists in Thunder Bay, because we got wonderful artists in this town.
Oh, yes. And this last year, there was quite a few new members.
Yeah, we got, I think it was 11 new members altogether.
It's really neat to meet new people and be inspired by them. Yeah.
Well, I think, and part of the group is that over time, a lot of us have become, close friends, because, we get together even outside the show and just even at the show.
Yeah.
I mean, it started 40 years ago as a cooperative of a bunch of artists, and the Potters at that time were part of it too. And it was just, they decided they wanted to get together and showcase their works and have a venue to sell to the public. And that's how it started. It
started off with a different name though, right?
It did. It was the Art and Craft Market. I'm not sure, we're still researching the history right back to day one, but as far as I know, it was the Art and Craft Market for many, many years. And then, about 28 years ago, they regrouped.
Okay.
After the person who was running it for a long time decided, to step down, and a bunch of the people decided it's worth saving and stepped up and decided to rebrand it as Artisans Northwest, came up with the snowflake logo because snowflakes are unique and so is each artisan. So we're we're hoping to have all the history at the show this year in either PowerPoint or the paper, the old kind of history book that we've kept throughout the years. But yeah, it started out, and I'm not sure how many members, but there weren't very many. I know in the old days they met at Ogden School and the YMCA in Fort William.
Okay.
And then years later moved to the Air Lane once it started to pick up a lot of members. Because when I joined, we were at the Air Lane originally.
Okay.
But yeah, it's grown throughout the years.
And like when you're admitted to the group now, you're juried. Was that always the case in the beginning?
Yeah,
Okay.
as far as I know, I'm not sure at the very beginning. I think it was a group of them kind of got together. They were all, in the beginning, I think it was pretty much, that was their profession, is that they were doing that full time. And then, as it gradually increased, like more and more of us that do it just part time came on board. But as far as I know, it's always been the juried show in town. So, to become a member, you do have to submit samples of your work, and then there's a group of between 5 and 8 people that actually take a look at it and judge it for its quality of workmanship, originality, creativity, hopefully things we don't already have represented in the group, so that we provide, widest range of products. But it's usually not a subjective thing, whether you like somebody's art or not, but it's more, a very critical look at how well it's produced, because our show is all about providing quality products to everybody, and there's a lot of really good stuff out there. A lot of stuff we know is getting produced, and we don't have that represented in the group. So
well, that just means we have to meet more people.
We do. If people can always go to just Google Artisans Northwest, and you can go to our website, and there's always an application there that if you're interested in becoming a member. We're always looking for new members too.
Yeah, and there's juries throughout the year usually, right?
Usually I think the one this year, we're trying to kick it all off early because we got so much planned for the 50th anniversary, but I think the jury's going to be probably mid to late April.
Okay.
So that everything's in place. Yeah, we're trying to get everything in place before summer, because we've got all kinds of special things planned at the show for 50th anniversary. Yeah, and then depending, if we do have enough people in the show, there isn't another jury, but if there's still a few spots open in the show, we sometimes do a jury in September.
Okay.
And we usually put those out on the website. The dates are always there. We put posters around town.
Well, and we can advertise it on the Facebook page too now.
Yeah. And we've got lots of pictures up on the Facebook page, because you took a lot of them, and
Katie too.
And Katie.
And there's been a few other artisans and I think spouses have been posting as well. It's really nice that, because you don't always get to see what everybody else has seen when you're at the show in the booth.
That's right.
That's
Sometimes
why
you get way too busy and you don't get to see other people's stuff. And then, we're trying to use more and more of, updated technology to get the message out there, because, originally it was just word of mouth and putting up little posters, and we did profiles. We actually just looked back at what we did for part of the 20th or 25th. And we had done profiles of all the artists, and it was funny because some of them were just hand-drawn out, and I put them together on a dot matrix printer with a grand total of 8 colors. And I thought, oh my God, we could do so much better now.
But, I mean, back then, that's what
that
we
was
had
as good as you
to.
could get.
Yeah.
So I thought, we plan on doing that again, because, sometimes it's fun to know the backstory of everybody, of how they got involved, how they do their product, because I know people were surprised when I told them how many steps it took to get, designing a snowman or a Santa all the way to painting. It's like 12 or 13 steps, and people just never knew that. And I'd put that in my profile, and, we're going to encourage everybody to write up profiles on themselves, so that,
great.
People can find out a little bit more about the individual artist. Find out what
makes us tick.
Yep. Because sometimes you have to have, strange ideas and stuff like that, or just think differently and look at things in the world differently to get inspiration.
Oh, definitely.
For what you want to do, especially year after year. Sometimes, you get a writer's block, a creative block. And
depending on what's going on in the rest of your life. Yeah, that's very true, I find.
And I know there's a few of us that actually get together and brainstorm and kind of feed off each other's ideas to try and come up with different stuff all the time.
Well, and I was excited to join the 40th anniversary group because of that, because in the past I haven't had a lot of time to give to the group other than helping with the setup day, because that's my always commitment to do.
That's a lot of work.
It's a lot, but it's also really fun. And I was so lucky the first year that I was accepted, I was taught by Joan. She was the one that always did it. And she was like, okay, this is what you do. And I was like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. And, you know, she mentored me in other ways too. And I felt that's one thing that I really was very advantageous for me as an artisan, is that there are so many of you that gave me advice and either commented when I was doing a good job or said, you know, maybe if you did this, it would look better. And that's not something that you can get really anywhere else. You know, you spend so much of your time as an artisan alone, making whatever you make, and all of your friends who aren't artistically inclined love what you do and tell you it's fabulous, but sometimes you need someone else that will critique you.
You need a critique.
Yeah, and you know, being around a lot of other women and men, but especially women for me, was like hearing what you thought was really inspirational, and I felt just a strong, like, all of a sudden more confidence in my ability, because
a lot of our artists are women. We're not. I think we're probably about 2/3 women, 1/3 men.
I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, because the majority are women, and a lot of them, you know, very strong artists, and you know, do other things.
Opinions,
and do other things in the community, and just to express yourself and put yourself out there. With your ideas. And you know, some of them, you know, like for mine, woodworking isn't a traditional women's thing either, and we've got people working in metal now, and that's not traditional, you know, welding, things like that. That's not a traditional women's
and Carol is going to be on the program
Carol
too.
Catrini? Yeah, because she's one of them. And you know, there's a few that you know, are very non-traditional crafts as far as what you would think of women doing. I mean,
but it's also neat to see like partnerships among either women and men, or I don't think I've seen a partnership men in a group.
No, yet. I don't think we have.
But it's neat to see that too.
Yeah, a lot of times it's husband and wife teams. And
and groups of friends.
Yeah, groups of friends that, you know, have got together, and then it just becomes a business, or you know, very serious hobby. Yeah. And I know everybody just, you know, has a great passion for what they do too, and I think that's what comes across when you come to a show and get to actually meet the people rather than just going into a store and buying it. You know, you actually get to meet the person who's doing it and can ask them, like, you know, why do you do that? Or you know, the people who come up every year and say, okay, well, what's new? Yes. You know, and you know, it's sort of a validation of what you do, and you know, how you think about your stuff. Yeah. You know, to have people come up and say they like it, and hopefully they don't rip it apart and say they hate it. And
well, I've had a few people say, well,
I've had people too look at it and say, well, why didn't you paint it this way? And you know, if you want to do yours that way, fine. This is you know, the way I do it. But.
And I think that's interesting that there are just as many strong-minded individuals out there that have their own opinion to say that too. That's an interesting experience. I mean, the first time it happens, of course, your ego may be a little bruised, but after that, I see it as an opportunity to talk to them about. I've met people who are into lapidary because I work with wire and bead and stones. A lot of people will say, well, why did you do it that way? Why didn't you? Because they maybe come from a more traditional idea of whatever the medium is I work with, because I tend to blend, you know, and I like to see outside the box what I could do with all those kind of traditional ideas.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not even a critique. It's just, you know, just an exchange between two artists, and feed off each other's ideas, and just think, you know, maybe if you do something like that yourself, you can get some ideas, or, you know, just, it is fun to talk to people and just, you know, find out their ideas about stuff. I mean, it is, you know, hard on the ego sometimes if people don't buy stuff, or they walk by and they look at stuff and they don't buy it, and they're, well, what's wrong with it? But you know, you can't sell to everybody, but
that's okay.
I mean, it is.
Even the inspiration though, before I ever started or even thought about selling anything, I would go to this show and the one at the Da Vinci, and I think were you in that show as well? No? Okay, I remember Maggie.
At the community auditorium one.
Okay.
The Social Planning Council show.
I remember going and seeing Maggie and Peter. and their stuff, and talking to Maggie, and she, like, now we're friends from being in artisans together, but back then I remember thinking, I love rocks. Like, seeing their creations just blew my mind. And that was a stepping off point where I could even just see the possibility of creating something and knowing that there was a market for it in Thunder Bay. Because sometimes you make stuff and then you give them away as presents, but then that it stops because you don't want to have all this stuff in your house you've made and it just sits around, you know. This way it's you get to keep making and developing your craft.
Well, that's the thing. All of us have lots of supplies for stuff, and there's only so much you can give away as to friends and as gifts and things like that. And then, you know, after a few people start saying, "Hey, it's really nice," you know, and you start thinking maybe you could. But it is intimidating, actually. You know, putting yourself in front of a jury and you know, getting a jury to get other people's opinions of it. And then the first time you do a show and you stand there and think, okay, is anybody going to like my stuff? Yeah,
what's going to happen?
It is a scary thing for any artist. Like, I'm sure, you know, a lot of the students here probably feel that, especially if you're doing stuff that's kind of way out there and outside the normal realm of what people see.
Yes, exactly. Especially if you see materials, but you see a different way to use them, and maybe more non-traditional, like you were saying, you started off.
Yeah, and if it's non-traditional and it's controversial, then you always, you know, have the people either really love it or really hate it, and that's kind of hard to do as an artist, is, you know, to take the criticism along with the praise.
Yes. Well, maybe what should I'm thinking if I should play a song, and we'll have a little bit of a break, and then we'll come back and talk some more about the group.
Okay.
Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Okay, so I have set up an artist called Cat Power. Have you ever heard of her?
No.
Okay. I think you'll like her. The song is called He War. And so let's check that out, and we'll be back in the studio for the special edition of the Betty Howls Show. before the break, we heard from Cat Power with the song He Wore. And then before that, I have with me in the studio today Cindy Cockell from Artisans Northwest. As per usual with the Betty Howls Show, I have people from the community to come in and talk about what they do, things they're promoting, things they're teaching. And so Cindy agreed to come in and start off a long series of interviews with Artisans Northwest to celebrate their 40th year together. And so we were just talking about being an artisan and letting your art out into the community and dealing with possible criticism and how it can be positive and negative. So now that, we talked a little bit about the origins of the group, it's always been centered around fine art and craft.
Yeah.
And have you noticed, now that you've been in the group for 27 years, have you noticed like waxing and waning of certain mediums over time? Or
that does happen. Yeah, because for a while we had a lot of floral people and a lot of stained glass, and we have one floral per person, and
Camille, she's been on the show.
Yeah, Camille's the only one left doing florals. And I think John Tipple's the only one left doing traditional stained glass, like the windows and stuff like that. And things come and go with different things. Like right now, jewelry is really hot, so we've got lots of jewelry
and a lot of different kinds of jewelry.
Yeah, lots of different kinds that people find. Like there's a lot of chainmail. There's working with rocks, like what you do. There's working with copper and some of the different metals. And things like that, like fine art, like, paintings in various mediums have always been there, but
kind of the backbone, eh?
Yeah. And that's, a lot of times that's what people traditionally think of as art and artists, but there's very many mediums, and even the quality. Like I know Billiana and Kathy McDonald and I were all talking about it just the other night about what our stuff looked like 25, 30, 40 years ago and what it looks like today. And I said I'd be just downright embarrassed to show anybody any of the ornaments that I did.
Really?
25, 30 years ago. Yeah, I wouldn't want them. They're in a box. I've kept one of everything, and they're in a box. They never see the light of day. But, all of us, thought back to that time and thought, what? The caliber that we get now of artists and, what people see at the show is just blows away what we would have seen 25 years ago.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know whether the public expects to see a higher caliber or just whether we have... whether we're better artists because we're exposed to so much more, or we're allowed to be maybe more creative and adventuresome.
Interesting.
But I look at some of the stuff that I did and I thought, I've got better mediums to work with, and a lot more products available to us for doing stuff, and maybe more exposure through the internet to seeing stuff from other people. But all of us said the same thing. What we did many years ago when we first started out in our venture as an artist, and what we do today is just, so much better. Maybe it's just, after 25 years you get better at it. I don't know.
I think
it's an awful lot of practice. But
I think that's definitely probably a big part of it.
Yeah, but I mean, even like for your stuff, like the wire and that's available now in different colors, and that's true for a lot of other people.
Yeah.
I do like all the beads and stuff for anybody doing jewelry. I mean, there's just such an enormous, variety, and you can go on the internet and you can get supplies, whereas before, when I started out, if I wanted any supplies, I would either have to go to one of the dealers that I dealt with down around Minneapolis, or, go to Toronto or somewhere outside the city and, order it from there, or order from catalogs. And now, you can see stuff on the internet and get supplies to do almost anything. But
I remember when I started, I couldn't buy wire anywhere in town.
Yeah. So, I mean, just stuff like that. So, we've had, greater variety of people doing things, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, it's gotten better over the years, and I think, just from within ourselves, I thought at one time it would be fun. We did this actually with groups I was with the Quilt Guild, and we brought our first project.
Oh.
Just to show people like how far we'd come, and I thought that might be kind of fun to see.
I still have one design that I've made all the way through the 10 years. Yeah, it's one of the hair clips that's a beaded design, because everybody loves it, and it's just circles that are woven together on a clip, and I make them and they sell, and then oh, where are those circles?
Sometimes you just want to say, I don't want to do that anymore, though I've done it for so many times.
Well, and what I do is I keep that tradition. To me, I feel like that's a traditional design, right from day one. And then I go off and I completely jump off the diving board and do stuff that's related. And like you said, you grow, you see other ways. And so that original one is always there for people who want it. But there's also a lot of other ones that are a lot different and challenging and, to me, you know, more interesting for me to make. And
I've done a couple of things. I think, geez, every person in this town must own a pair of my snowman earrings and one of my little snowman door hangers.
Those are amazing. Yeah, those ones are amazing.
I thought sometimes you just want to jump off and do something different, but, you know, people, they do still want the same thing. Yeah. But, we're always encouraging people. And one of the things we're actually going to do for the show this year is we're going to try and contact some of the old members.
Oh, wonderful.
I shouldn't say old members, previous members, former members. And we're going to try and get them to bring a couple of their products and do a booth of, you know, just here's some of the past members, what they're up to now. And because sometimes people, you know, as they get older, they just decide to retire out of it, or life gets busy and they have to drop out of the art scene for a while. So we thought, well, it'd be kind of fun to take a look back at, you know, some of the people over the past 40 years. And we've got pictures of a lot of people, but we're going to try and get some of their products and some of the former members to come. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah, because there's still people that ask about some of the people who were there, you know, from the beginning and just, you know, for whatever reason no longer do stuff. So hopefully we can get a bunch of them and people get to reminisce and they get to talk to their former clients, because you do become friends with. Yes. You know, people are not real close friends or anything, but you do have a camaraderie with, you know, the customers after, you know, they've come back year after year and they look for your stuff. So
it's always interesting to hear where with the wreaths I make, they often leave Thunder Bay and go. So they come back and tell me, oh, I sent this to Finland.
Yeah, I've had stuff. Furthest away is Australia for me, but a couple of things into Europe, usually lots into the States. But
that blows my mind.
Yeah, when you think of our stuff that's gone all over the place. And
Well, it was really great having you come in and talk. I know you'll come back again, you know.
Yeah, we'll probably come back closer to the show.
And so this is a nice introduction to this long series we're going to do, and I'm really excited to have more artisans on the show and hear about what they do and how they joined.
Well, we have almost 80, so hopefully between now and showtime you get at least, well, let's say half.
Yeah, let's hope for that. Everybody's a little intimidated, but I think the more people that hear artisans on the air and they see that it's really just a conversation between two people that's shared with hundreds of thousands. So it's less scary that way.
212,000? Hopefully, because everybody's got a different point of view, because they all do different things.
Exactly. So thanks for stopping by, and like I said,
thanks for having me on the show again.
Welcome back anytime.